St Mary Le Tower Church, Ipswich. Saturday, May the 15th, 1999. A gathering of football legends, of fans, and of a family. All paying a last tribute to the man who brought English sport its proudest moment. A man who also brought East Anglia its greatest football triumph. A man whose death in his beloved Suffolk rekindled so many shared memories for so many people. A summer's evening in 1966, Alf Ramsey's England have won the World Cup. What had seemed an impossible dream is now frozen in time as a defining moment in the history of post-war Britain. 1962, Ipswich Town win the First Division Championship under the guidance of 42-year-old Alf Ramsey. The future national hero had already become a local legend. Today, Sir Alf still has a central place in the hearts and minds of the people of Suffolk and the fans of Ipswich Town.
He put the Corinthian spirit into football, you know. Football's a simple game, and he played it really well.
I just feel he's a man of integrity, and I think some of the values he had are now gone and extinct, and I think that's kind of sad.
All Town fans are very proud to say that the two most successful England managers were both ex-Ipswich Town managers, and that is the legacy that we can show every other fan in the country, that we've got that proud claim to fame.
Alf Ramsey's story is folklore here. Born in Dagenham on January the 22nd, 1920, he started his working life as an errand boy with the Co-op. But a talent for football soon emerged in kickabouts with his three brothers. After army service, he began his long career in the professional game at Southampton, living in digs on this street. Quickly converting from centre-forward to right-back, greater success awaited. He went on to play for Spurs in a championship-winning team. Alf Ramsey had a taste for the big time. A long association with England followed after Ramsey won his first cap in 1948. Ramsey, a stubborn, intelligent player, went on to win 32 caps. His last international as a player was the famous 6-3 defeat by Hungary in 1953. Ramsey had the consolation of scoring from the penalty spot. So a playing career which had reached the heights made way for a managerial career which would surpass it. On August the 8th, 1955, Alf Ramsey became manager of Ipswich Town. A 70-mile journey to another world. Alf Ramsey arrived in post-war East Anglia at a time of enormous change. The region still seemed isolated, but the county town's identity was evolving, and its football team would soon show a similar desire to catch up with its big city rivals.
Just one of the clues. You've had your first lesson in learning the blues.
Years later, Ramsey reflected on the career decision which altered footballing history.
Why Ipswich? Well, I think probably it could have been any club. Ipswich was the club that approached me, the first club to approach me, and I liked the people that I was dealing with, and in any case I was a novice at this. I'd had no experience of managership, and this was not a bad way to start if one had ambitions towards becoming a successful manager.
The Portman Road that greeted Alf Ramsey in the 1950s was vastly different to the huge modern stadium that exists nowadays. I remember it well. I was lucky enough to be a ball boy in those days, standing behind the goal for the matches. What hasn't changed much, of course, is the pitch, on which Ramsey's teams gave pleasure to thousands.
Less than 2 years after taking up his first managerial position, Alf Ramsey led Ipswich to the Championship of the old 3rd Division South. Some of the office staff who were at Portman Road in the 1950s still work at the club. David Rose, office junior then, now club secretary.
We worked in an army hut in those days. We even had sort of bullet holes in the windows still from the times of the war. And Alf had an office next door, and he would pop in the morning and the afternoon and see us and see how things were going on. Yeah, he was a fine fellow to work for.
Local journalist Tony Garnett has covered Ipswich matches for more than 40 years, and in the early days was allowed to train with the reserves.
I used to go down, say, on a Thursday and train, have a shower, be in the old dressing rooms, which were the old cricket pavilions there, and of course the team would be on the notice board. I would see the team, produce it in the paper the next day, and Alf would occasionally say, "You picked my team for me again." And of course I'd read it straight off the board.
In 1961, Ipswich secured the championship of the 2nd Division, and Alf, for once, let his hair down, as his chairman at the time remembered.
We were down at Southampton, and we had to spend the night down there, so we organised a quiet party. And at one moment I looked round, and there was Alf under a table singing "Maybe It's Because I'm a Londoner."
Bigger celebrations lay ahead. By the closing weeks of the following season, Ipswich were on the brink of winning the 1st Division Championship. Suffolk had known nothing like it.
So what do you think's the secret of Ipswich Town's success?
Well, Suffolk hops and malt.
Well, I think they're good, hard-working men. Is that why they win?
That's why they win. They're out to win, too. They're not, you know, none of this high business.
Well, I don't know, really. All I know is that they've got some jolly good players. My brother's interested, and so am I. I watch it on television a lot of times, really. And I hope they win on Saturday.
Now that you're so close to Saturday, with the possibility of winning it, how do you feel?
I feel fine. I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting match. Aston Villa are a particularly good side, consisting of many young players. They'll make us fight hard. I just hope that we can repeat the performance that we put up last Monday at Highbury. And by doing that, I feel that we'll win.
The stage was set for the most vital match in Ipswich Town's history.
Well, it's just 2:45 here on April the 28th at Portman Road, 1962. This is the moment of truth for East Anglia. Today, Ipswich play their last and vital match in their first season in the 1st Division. Well, you can hear what the crowd thinks. The whole place is a sea of blue and white favours. The sky is blue and white. The wind's coming from the northeast, typical of East Anglia. Well, let's see what happens as the players come on the field.
Ramsey's team was made up of low-cost signings and free transfers.
We knew what we had to do. Alf had basically drilled it into us what we had to do. But his main talk was about the opposition. He would tell you how they were going to take a corner, what foot a bloke would take the free kick from, and this is what he was brilliant. It was absolutely marvellous at it.
He seemed to have the knowledge of every position there was, and the players he purchased, you know, they fitted into the scheme, and he was an extraordinary man.
Ray Crawford, capped by England as an Ipswich player, scored both goals in an historic 2-0 victory against Aston Villa. It gave Ipswich the title and astonished English football. It had taken just 6 seasons to go from nowhere to champions of England.
Mr. Mr. Ramsey, you've done it. We just heard that Burnley have drawn. You've won the championship of the first division in your first season, and I feel a great deal of this is due to you. How do you feel?
I feel fine, and I'm delighted. I'm delighted for everyone.
Well, you know, you won't say it for yourself. I know thousands of people will see this. We do congratulate you. There are 11 men on the field, but my goodness, there's a 12th man in the dressing room.
Yes, I would like to think I was the 12th man. Well, the 12th man in the dressing room is Jimmy Forsyth. But all credit to the players. They've done a wonderful job. And to Jimmy Forsyth.
And to yourself, sir, if I may say so.
Thank you very much.
What's the plans for next season?
I haven't the faintest idea.
What about the European Cup?
Oh, well, we'll wait and see. But we'll do well.
Long after the final whistle, there was a remarkable moment when Ramsey was alone with his chairman, John Cobbold.
Everybody had gone. There was only Johnny and Alf in the boardroom. Alf said, "Wait here, Mr. Chairman, just wait a few minutes and go up to your seat in the director's box." Johnny did. Alf then did a lap of honour on his own round Portman Road. It was a sort of sentimental thing, really, wasn't it?
This is what I'm doing, setting up with the Memorabilia Hall of Fame.
Pat Godbold, secretary to Alf Ramsey and successive managers, is now the club's archivist.
And he said, "Put your money on England, we're definitely going to win." I gave him a pound and it was 6-1.
Two of the championship-winning team, John Ellsworthy and Roy Stevenson, still live in Ipswich and remember Ramsey with fondness.
Yeah, we all had a lot to thank him for in our own way, didn't we?
Yes, well, we did. It was a pleasure playing for him, wasn't it? I mean, the way he played, the way he knew so much about the game, and we appreciated his knowledge.
Ron Ellis has kept statistical records ever since the club turned professional and pointed out that steering clear of injuries was a key factor in the championship season.
In the league we'd only call on about 16 players. And Aled Owen played only one game out of those 16. Let me see, we'd won 17 home games, lost 2 and drawn 2. Goal scorers were Crawford 41, Phillips 37, Moreland 21, Stevenson 13, Ledbetter 6.
Ramsey took his players off on tour to Germany to celebrate their achievement. By the time the team arrived home, he was being tipped to become England manager. The call came soon after.
But he wasn't sure he wanted the job until he'd consulted his chairman, John Cobbold.
He asked me, he said, "What should I do? Will you advise me?" And so I said, "Well, Alf, you cannot turn, in your profession, you cannot turn down the top job." Much as I regretted having to say that.
The 8:35 from Ipswich to Liverpool Street would become part of Ramsey's daily routine in the years ahead. He'd swapped rural Suffolk for bustling 1960s London. The England team belonged to Ramsey, who worked alongside trainer Harold Shepherdson for 10 years. Unlike his predecessor, Walter Winterbottom, Ramsey, and not a selection committee, picked the side. Shepherdson saw the difference straight away.
He assembled all the players, he talked to the players, and he told them what he wanted, he told them how we were going to do it and why we were going to do it, and then he dropped the bombshell. He said, "If any of you feel that you're not able to subject yourself to this type of discipline and work we're going to do, just say so now and you can catch the next train home. I shan't feel any the worse about you, and at the same time I've got to get people who will do what I want them to do and work the way I want them to work." Naturally, nobody got up and walked out. Everybody accepted the fact.
By 1965, Alf knew he had a team capable of winning the World Cup. So he told the nation. Some felt that made him a hostage to fortune. He cared little. He knew what his players were capable of.
I guess you've heard it a million times, but it is the truth. I mean, every player, whoever played under him, even if he only played one game under him, really had the utmost respect for the man, because the man was a player's man. He just looked after the players, first and foremost.
And when it came to the moment of truth, his players justified his belief in them. On July the 30th, 1966, England took the field with West Germany for the World Cup final. Alf Ramsey's prediction would pass the ultimate test.
Moore, chip down, Hurst, a chance, a goal! It's there! It's there! And a chance here! Yes! It's Marty Peters! Marty Peters! Hurst here now, Hurst! Yes! No, they haven't given it. The linesman says no goal.
I feel good in a special way.
The whole nation shared the delight of Nobby Stiles, the satisfaction of Bobby Moore, and the quiet pride of Alf Ramsey. Just look in slow motion at his incredible composure amid the euphoria all round.
I always say that we're like brothers, and you'll hear it from everyone else, that there's such a camaraderie. It's more than teammates. It's like we're, as I say, like brothers. There's some kind of kindred spirit within us.
Famously, some say shamefully, there was no winner's medal for Ramsey. A year later, though, he did get recognition from the Queen, knighted for his services to football. His achievements on the football field continued to be impressive, but his relationship with journalists was strained.
He didn't really like getting involved, talking football to anybody who wasn't a professional footballer.
You see, and another thing, I buy the Daily Mail to read on the train. I'll tell you why I buy the Daily Mail, because we have a Dachshund, and I enjoy reading Fred Bassett, because I see Fred Bassett in our own little dog.
This rare film of Sir Alf relaxing at home shows the family man, devoted to his wife Victoria and daughter Tanya. His England team never again reached the heights of '66. They went to Mexico for the 1970 World Cup, but were knocked out in the quarter-finals by West Germany. Many felt Ramsey's decision to substitute Bobby Charlton, with England leading, was pivotal. But what of the absence through food poisoning of goalkeeper Gordon Banks? The World Cup campaign was over, and Sir Alf would never again lead his team to the final stages of the competition.
Tomaszewski.
They failed to make the journey to West Germany in 1974 because of their inability to beat Poland at Wembley in a qualifying match. A game when England were captained by Martin Peters, but denied victory by a goalkeeper dubbed a clown by Brian Clough.
And Tomaszewski made it his. This man having himself a really fine time, this Polish goalkeeper. Saved by Szymanowski. Tomaszewski's not there. Tomaszewski, incredible save, kicked it away.
We had a fairly good side then, and when you think that Poland came third in the World Cup the following year, and we really marmalised them at Wembley, and apart from that goalkeeper, Tomaszewski, we would have gone through, and most probably Alf would have retained his job.
Sir Alf Ramsey must be a very disheartened man, but he still has a handshake for Polish officials.
In May 1974, Sir Alf was sacked.
Following meetings, a unanimous recommendation was submitted to the Executive Committee that Sir Alf Ramsey should be replaced as the England team manager. This recommendation was accepted unanimously by the Executive Committee.
It was very disappointing to see him going that way, because he'd done so much for the country, and his record stands up better than anyone else, and he was a wonderful man.
The Football Association wishes at this time to record its deep appreciation of all that Sir Alf has accomplished and the debt owed to him by English football for his unbending loyalty and dedication and the high level of integrity he has brought to world football.
His record as England manager? Played 113, won 69, lost just 17. He was never consulted again by the FA. Instead, he returned to his home in Ipswich, making occasional public appearances. He also had brief spells as manager of Birmingham City and technical director to the Greek side Panathinaikos, but became largely a name from the glorious past of English football. Reticent even about returning to Portman Road.
I gave him an open invitation. On one occasion he was here and said, "You're always welcome, you know that. All you've got to do is phone me." But the phone didn't ring. Shame.
He was a private man. They were a private family, really. I got to know perhaps his wife and his daughter Tanya better, because I went to a match, sat with them at Wembley once. But he was a very good man to work for, and everybody had so much respect for him too.
Respect and the standards set by Ramsey have been followed by successive managers at Ipswich.
Ipswich have always had a great reputation for looking after people, treating people in the right manner, and playing good football. And I think the last few years we've followed that on.
People say, well, what's Ipswich famous for, or what was it famous for? Birthplace of Cardinal Wolsey or whatever. But the people really remember Ipswich Town now for football. That's what people around the world talk about Ipswich for. And it was all started by Sir Alf Ramsey.
As a permanent reminder of what he achieved here, a life-size bronze statue of Sir Alf Ramsey is being commissioned to stand at his beloved Portman Road. And whatever the formal tributes, and there have been many, none can surpass the warmth of the memories felt by anyone that was here in Ipswich in 1962, or indeed anywhere in England in 1966.
Alf was a complete and total winner. He wasn't interested in finishing third or second, he wanted to finish first. And the reason that we were successful is that he communicated this enthusiasm that he always had and this belief that he had to actually win to the rest of the team. And when we went out to play, and for a period of 2 or 3 years prior to the World Cup in 1966, England went out actually believing that they could beat anyone.
I know that I speak for all the World Cup 1966 squad when I say that Alf's influence changed our lives. Not just because of what we achieved under him, but lives richer for having known and played for him. I feel that we're here today to celebrate not only a great England football manager, but a great Englishman. Who, should he be looking down at this particular moment, is probably thinking, yes, George, I think we've had enough of that.
I've had some great time playing for Southampton, playing for Tottenham, playing for England, managing Ipswich, winning the World Cup. The greatest moment one could remember.